When I'm not just grabbing a different guitar because I'm too lazy to change my strings, I like to answer questions and comments that you get on YouTube, so let's get to it. Sean, thanks for the lesson. I really love the harmonic minor for exercises, and for some reason I especially like ease mode, ultra Phrygian, in the A harmonic minor scale. Question for the forthcoming QA, can you talk about other accidental chords in the harmonic minor or how one would take advantage of them? What I mean is with both G sharp and A in the scale, we can play both F and F minor chords diatonically. I really like that these extra chords are diatonic, but I'm not sure how to use them in progressions. Great question, and I'm going to kind of answer it and kind of not answer it. If you watched the video the other day, I talked about the A harmonic minor and how those, just by changing one note, taking all the G's in the key of C, or the key of A minor, and turning them into G sharp, you get totally different chords, and you can kind of end up swapping those in and out for just regular progressions in A minor or C major. So to kind of answer that question, but not really, I'm going to tell you my 5 favorite outside chords or accidental chords that you can use in any key, and how to just kind of use just from, just me kind of experimenting. These are just stuff that I like. I would say a lot of these are pretty common in the grand scheme of things where chords sit diatonically. If you don't know what diatonic means, it's basically, there's 7 notes in the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? Any of those become chords, but sometimes you can use extra notes that are not in that scale to make other chords, okay? So for instance, let's do the one that we were talking about first. Again, top 5 favorite accidental outside chords in the key of C or A minor. The one that people go to is going to be E7 or E major, right? In the key of C, the chords are C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B, half diminished in C. So when we play E major, we're adding a G sharp note to that key, okay? We would call this a major 3 chord, C, D, E. E is the 3rd note. Usually it's minor. We can make it major, so we're altering it, I guess. Major 3 chord, okay? Now, where it has a lot of use is anytime you use a dominant 7 chord, it points you to what it's the 5 of, right? So since E is the 3 of C, C, E minor, E, 7, that's gonna point you to whatever E is 5 away from in that key, A, B, C, D, E. So it really goes to an A minor, okay? So a major 3 chord is a great way to kind of switch the tonal center to bring it to the A minor chord. Doesn't always have to be used that way. In fact, one of my favorite ways to use it is just going back and forth between the 4 chord in that key, all right? 4 chords, C, D, E, F, F major, right? Very kind of Spanish, you can kind of get a Dorian sound from that with harmonic minor, so on and so forth. That's just chord number 1. Again, not too spicy. Now, what is my actual favorite outside chord, I've talked about this in some other videos, is the flat 7 major 7 chord, okay? What that means, let's say we're still in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. B is the 7th note, all right? The flat 7 would be B flat, okay? Making the B flat chord a major 7 chord, and then adding that to your C of key note, C of key of C notes. It's a great move, classy move, pure class. In fact, one of my favorite songs that I play of mine, Parador, is kind of dancing around the tonic, right? And then, right? It's a great way to just kind of add resolution to point something towards the 4 chord, all right? The 4 chord in any key is the Lydian mode. If you like the sound of Lydian like I do and like all the classy songwriters out there do, then having that flat 7 major chord is a great way to make it seem like you're in the key of the 4 chord, okay? So again, not to get too far into the weeds, but like I said, the 4th chord in the key of C, C, D, E, F, is F, right? So if we just kind of add B flat, specifically B flat major 7, we can almost kind of think of ourselves as being in the key of F, because the 1 chord, C, is actually the 5 chord in F, right? But as soon as we add that G major, kind of A minor stuff, having having that B flat, that flat 7, major 7 chord is something that really comes in handy because it almost kind of creates this thing. It's like, well, what key am I in? And it's, again, specifically with my song, Parador, which is, I can only really speak on this because I wrote it so I know what I was thinking, right? I'm not trying to be like, oh, listen to my original music, but, you know, if I'm just gonna name the chords in the key of E, right, by numbers, we have a 6, 2 a 5, 2 a 4, 2 a 3, back to 4, 6, flat 7, major 7, 4, right? And then when we finally go through those, we get to the 1 chord, right? And then back to 4, and then 3, and then we're still kind of doing the whole dance, flat 7. So when you finally get to the home chord, E, which we've been avoiding, thinking that we're in the subdominant key, however you want to look at it. Again, you know, starting to talk about subdominance and secondary dominance can be very confusing if you're just getting into maybe chord theory, music theory, but that's why just kind of like taking a chord, be like, all right, flat 7 major. It's always so easy to find the flat 7 major chord because you just go to whatever key you're in. If you're in the key of G major, you just go a step lower. There's your flat 7, turn it into a major chord. Add F major to the chords in the key of G. G, C, D, F, G. Okay, so that's probably my favorite technical one, all right? Now, my next favorite after that would be what I call the 4.5 chord. That is not an official term that anybody has ever used that I've heard, but it makes a lot of sense, okay? So let's use the chords in the key of G to talk about this, all right? I'll even do it like bar chord wise. By the way, this is a Cordoba C7. All right, this video doesn't sponsor anything, but I wasn't joking about just not wanting to change my strings, so that's why I grabbed the classical guitar out. I love classical guitar, and this guitar is actually under $600. So even though it's not sponsored, I will put a Sweetwater affiliate link in there because I should just start playing classical guitar more because it's mellow. Anyways, if we take the 1, 4, 5 chords in the key of G, we have a G to a C to a D. Okay? We can turn those into extended chords by going G major 7, C major 7, D 9 or D dominant 7, back to 1. What I think of as the 4.5 chord is, let's go to the 4 chord, that C major 7, take your root note and go to C sharp. Okay? Everything else stays the same. C major 7, C minor 7, flat 5. Okay, so it's really, I'm thinking of it as the major 7 4 chord with a raised root. Okay? And it kind of sits in between 4, 5, 4, sharp 4, flat 5, whatever. 5. So I think of it as the 4.5 chord. Okay? Now you can use it, something as just a passing tone to walk from the like that, or you can kind of introduce it as a totally different chord, right? Another example of how I would use it is, let's go to the A major key. I'm still sticking in A. See, there's the 4 chord. Now again, the second time around. Okay, what I love about it is it's pushing toward the 5 chord, but it's so much. I'm 75% of playing the 4 chord. When I lower that, it just sounds so good. It kind of just has because a bass note has almost an undue importance on guitar because it's the lowest note, and it usually kind of sticks out the most from a volume standpoint. I really just see it as a bass note thing that you can use that really has a big impact when you hit it. So that's my third one out of 5. Next one, minor 5 chord. Okay, so usually the 5 chord in any key. Let's do this back in the key of C again. 5 chord, C, D, E, F, G. All right, G major is usually what you hear before you go back home to the 1 chord. Okay, 5 points you to 1. All right, that's why that 5 chord usually becomes a dominant 7 chord. And the interesting thing about a dominant 7 chord, like in C, right? Here's G7, it has a minor 7 interval in it. So it's already got a little taste of that minor chord, but it has a major third in it, right? So G, A, B. B is the major third in the key of G, and it's also a note in the key of C. We can flatten that to B flat, and that makes it a minor 7 chord, okay? So one cool thing to do is to kind of bounce back and forth in between that by introducing that B flat again in the key of C. So this is just kind of like another thing that you can do aside from adding like a flat 7 major chord. You could add that to the minor third in the key of G. This is heavy on music theory today, fellas, ladies and gentlemen. Very heavy on music theory. But a great way to do this is, let's think of it, all right, I'm just gonna play something in C. C major. And then I'm gonna descend 6, 5, 4. A minor, G, F, right? But maybe the next time I do it, I'm gonna make it a minor 5 chord. C major 7, 1 chord, 6. By adding that, going from major to minor, oh, it just feels so good. Why does it feel good? Because it's almost like for a split second, we're taking instead of going a 1, 6, 5 major, 4, now it feels like, again, remember this 4 chord is my favorite chord, so stuff that I gravitate towards is always gonna be like, let's treat that 4 chord as the 1 chord. If that 4 chord was the 1 chord, the 2 chord in that key would be G minor, right? So establishing ourselves in C, A minor, G major, F, but then kind of little curveball, minor 6 chord. It kind of brings us home, fake home, to the 4 chord, right? It's like you're breaking into somebody's house that's a lot nicer. It's your fake home, but you forced your way into it. Love that, love that. So a lot of different uses for that. I really think that in descending lines, 6, minor 5, 4, again, all my original songs kind of like incorporate stuff like this, is a cool way to look at that, right? And then time for number 5, okay? This one is something that I learned from my guy, Elliott Smith, favorite guitar player of all time for me. It's really just taking any major chord, we'll talk about it as the 1 chord, and just adding it a minor third higher, okay? So let's do this in the key of F. All right, so here's my 1 chord, my 2 chord, the G minor like we just talked about. My 3 chord is a step higher, A minor. My 4 chord is B flat major. We keep going 5 to C, 6, D minor, so on and so forth. But what Elliott Smith does a lot is he'll do these moves where it's like, where he'll move the major chord 3 frets higher, a minor third higher, right? So when we started on F, we said the first 3 notes in the key of F are F, G, A. Well, in between 2 and 3 is an F minor chord, right? But then kind of slapping a major chord on there is so cool. I love the sound of this, right? People talk about like chromatic medians, and there's all these types of vocab words out there that you can learn, but really moving major chords in minor thirds. So I think of this as, you can think of this as a flat 3 major chord, if you want to talk about this with more intellectual types. Major chord on the minor third, however you want to look at it. But this would be like a G sharp or A flat in the key of F. Right? That sounds Elliott Smith-ish to me. And again, it doesn't matter what key you're in. You can be in the key of G and then just really add, once again, our boy B flat. It's such a great chord. Add that B flat into the key of G. G. And it just works, especially when you play it with confidence on a nylon string guitar. It's something, by the way, by Nirvana, so they didn't steal anything. So I did a post the other day talking about how the new Batman theme is really just a ripoff of the Imperial March from Star Wars. But people were like, it's actually the song by Nirvana that they're trying to do. It's like, okay, well here's the theme from Batman. Here's the Imperial March. And here's the Nirvana theme. It's like, okay, sure. But, you know, I get it, which is funny. That's what we just talked about, E major to C major. It's like, okay, he didn't rip off the Imperial March, he just ripped off Nirvana. Does that make it better? This guy makes me want to throw my guitar away, not because he's talented, but because he's so vain. So wait, why does my vanity want to make you stop playing guitar? Can we explain that? I'm not even arguing, but I'm having a hard time connecting the salty dots on this one. Kazam with Shaq, not Shazam with Sinbad. So on the video the other day, which was really a live reading of like this really whack marketing meal, you know, of course nobody watched that video in the grand scheme of the views that I get on my channel. But it's so funny because it was me and my buddy Brian live reading this totally whack email about buying a capo masterclass, and of course the conversation like devolved into alternate timelines and how everybody remembers a movie called Shazam with Sinbad as a genie that never actually existed, which I 100% remember that. People, please help me out in the comments, because I've asked a lot of people and they're like, yeah, great movie, classic. It doesn't exist, right? So it devolved into a conversation about the Mandela effect. Watch that video because it's too funny. And then please let me know if you remember Shazam with Sinbad, or at least I remember a movie poster of it. So the fact that it doesn't exist really blows my mind, and I'm not trying to think about this. And I wouldn't have confused it with Kazam with Shaq. Like, nobody was more into Kazam with Shaq than I was at that age, being a huge basketball stan. So yeah, I would not have confused Shazam with Kazam or Shaq with Sinbad, but here we are. For listening homework, I'm gonna throw you to some cool synthwave by the Midnight. I feel like it's that time, you know, spring is coming, spring is sprung, time to get that synthwave vibe. So definitely check that out. Check out some classical guitar vibes, because I think I might get into classical guitar coming up. It's just something different to spend some time on. And if you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.